Welcome back to Prep Recruiting Insider, PRI, from NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale, home of the 2015 Grand Prix of Louisiana. I'm Coach Rick Gailey, here along with our Prep Recruiting Insider, Renee Nadeau, and it's our pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with Coach Brent Bonnaffons of Riverdale High School, Riverdale Rebels. Coach Bonnaffons,
yes, sir.
Welcome to PRI.
Appreciate you having me.
Well, we appreciate being had.
Well, you know, it's great. And we was talking a little while ago, Rick, how Riverdale's really never gotten an invitation, an official invitation, to come to a playoff. But it looks like you guys have turned the corner. This is your second year,
Yes,
10 years in the business. What kind of tells you that this team could be special this year?
Well, the one thing about Riverdale that's always happened is when something bad happens, you can see the hang in of their heads. Last year, we were going against Salmon, and we were scoring with them, and then the second something bad happens, you can see that. You can see the head fall down, and it just wasn't good for us. This year, you know, we might have a bad play, we might have a kick return for a touchdown like we did against Newman, but then the next drive, the offense said, that's okay, we got it, and they went down and scored. And to me, that's the difference, is the fact that we're mentally tougher this year than we were last year and than they were the year before that. And another thing is we had a full year in the weight room with my strength coach, Kenny Bourgeois, who to me is one of the best in the business. And we're a lot stronger than what we were last year. So those are big difference from last year to this year.
And that mental toughness just doesn't happen. That happens because of practice and,
yes,
and having a program together and being organized to where the stress is on the players really every day. Talk about how you've changed the practice schedule, talking last year, the whole practice routine,
yes,
and that it's not just August through December.
I've been lucky enough to work with some great coaches, and one of the coaches I worked for was Mickey Joseph at Desire Street Academy. And because of that, because we had Danny Werfel as our president, we were able to go and look at some of the Florida practices when Urban Meyer was there and how up-tempo they were. And I try to model my practices after what Urban Meyer did. So we have the music out there, we're very up-tempo. We don't condition after practice because of how fast our tempo is during practice. And that was pretty much ingrained to me by Guy Mastretta as well at Redemptress. I mean, you're out there for 2 hours, you're going to be out there and running for 2 hours. And I think that helped our team get mentally tough because there is no water break. No, we get water as we go. We get water as we go. And I think that kind of helped us get to where we are with that, being mentally tough.
The landscape has changed, and when I say landscape, something we talked about in the summer, Brett, is that you know, I don't think Riverdale's ever been blessed to have the Nick Sabans and the Les Miles and the Mark Ricks and the coaches standing on the sidelines watching practice.
Yes, sir.
How do you kind of keep that and keep the guys with their feet on the ground with high-name coaches like that standing around watching you?
That's because I have good kids. One of my, the main recruit that we have is the number 51 player in the nation, a guy named Dante Jackson. Every time he's interviewed and they ask him what school he's leaning to, Dante says, I'm leaning to the Riverdale Rebels. And I think that one answer right there just kind of personifies what we are as a team. It's about this team being in the playoffs. You know, they haven't been there, these kids haven't tasted it, and the one time last year where they thought they tasted it, I had to call them and say we didn't make it. And they don't want that anymore. They want to be able to play in week 11. And I think everybody having that attitude is just really pushing what we've done, so.
You mentioned several coaches in several places that you've been that's helped make you the coach that you are. Talk about some of the coaches who were most influential either in working with them or that you played for.
I was able to play for a true player's coach at Nicholls State University. Darryl Day, he'll yell at you, he'll push you to your limits, but then he'll come and put his arm around you and say, it's okay, what we got to do for you? What can we do to help you? And that pretty much pushed me the way I am with these kids, and then working at Desire Street Academy with, the fact that we were a boarding school and the kids were away from their parents, you become like a second father to them. And, so that pretty much helped me out a lot with my coaching philosophy. But Craig Brody at Catholic in Iberia, I brought a lot from him. Mickey Joseph was a great one. Guy Mastretta, his organizational skills were the best I've ever seen. I know he's going to do a great job this year at Livonia. And then Marcus Scott at West Jeff, he brought everything that every other coach that I've had, he brought it together in what a coach should be. And he was organized like Mastretti. He was a motivator like Brody was. He was a player's coach like Coach Joseph was. And just seeing what Marcus does day in and day out really helped me become a better coach. If I am a good coach, I hope I am. I hope I'm doing a good job.
You've coached Ronald Lewis, who's
Yes,
now
sir.
at Arizona State at West
Yes, sir.
Chaff, and Jeremy Hill.
Yes, sir.
You've had an opportunity to coach some outstanding players, and you have some outstanding players on offense and defense, but your
Yes, sir.
offense is really special.
Yes, sir. We have a kid named Dante Jackson I talked about earlier who can touch it from anywhere and take it to the house. He can score from anywhere. We proved that last week with 5 touches for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. There was a game last year where he had 10 touches for 250 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then we have a young man named Darius Bovey who started out at receiver, was being recruited as a receiver, but when my starting running back broke his ankle, he said, "Coach, I got you. I'm going to play the running back spot for us." And ended up gaining 150 yards last week and 2 touchdowns, and he's a team leader in touchdowns right now. We have a young man named Tedrick White who was a basketball player his whole life and then decided to come out and has already earned, scholarship opportunities and things like that. And he's our leading receiver right now with over 175 yards receiving and a touchdown. So I've learned very early, good coaches know it's not about the X's and the O's sometimes, it's about the Jimmies and Joes. And luckily at Riverdale, we have some pretty good players. We got a good young class coming up too. I think we're going to be a pretty good team.
And that's what a program is all about, being
Yes, sir.
able not just to coach this team, but future teams down the road. We're in about the last minute, Brett. People don't really realize that in Louisiana, a coach's job really goes from morning to night because you have to teach.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially as a head coach. And you teach social studies for Denise Carpenter,
Yes,
who's the
sir.
principal over
Yes,
there, who
sir.
I remember from as a teacher at Bonnaffons when I was there. Tell us about the subject matter that you have to teach before you get a chance to get out to practice.
Well, Riverdale is an outstanding school. It's one of the top schools in Jefferson Parish, and so they expect me to be an outstanding teacher, and that's what I'm trying to be. I teach. We have a block schedule, AB day. So we have an A day and an AB day. I teach 6 90-minute world history classes, and I'm not going to tell you it's easy to be a good teacher and a good coach right now, but I'm lucky. I've been blessed to have a very understanding wife who's a coach and a teacher herself. So she picks up the slack when I don't. I have 2 beautiful kids, and we make it a point to make our program a family program as well. So we have coaches who can bring their kids to practice. We have, they get home early enough to tuck their kids in. I don't expect my coaches to stay till 11 o'clock at night like, some other coaches do in the state. We are a family organization.
Well, thank you for being here, Coach Bonnaffons. Represent Riverdale very well. We'll have Riverdale players coming up starting in the next segment. We are at NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale in the Event Center, 34,000 square feet of event space just for whatever you need. We'll be back to PRI.